Welcome to AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. Each week, we deliver informative health and wellness topics you want to know about, so be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast channel. And if you have any questions about content discussed in this episode, ask them at AFSPA Live, our live Q&A session, streaming every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/AFSPACares. Now here's your host, Chief Operating Officer Kyle Longton.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of AFSPA Talks. This is your host, Kyle Longton, and it's been a while, and I'm sorry for that. Our last episode was posted in May, and we went dark in June, and that wasn't planned. Unfortunately, I was on the road a little bit more than I anticipated and fell behind in getting things lined up for the podcast feed, and so I'm glad to be back. We did have some other content during the month of June, and so I encourage you to go to youtube.com/AFSPACares to see a webinar that we did, as well as the recording of AFSPA Live with Dr. Kelly Rule, who's a Senior Medical Director for Aetna, and the topic of both the webinar and AFSPA Live was men's health, with June being Men's Health Month. June was also Pride Month. We did not have a Pride-focused webinar or podcast this year, and I'm sorry for that. We did have some information on our blog, and we also have some information back in our archives from June of 2022 and 2021. So I encourage you to go back and listen for that. Now, today we are talking about travel insurance. And it is something that a lot of us may be most familiar with because of the offer we get whenever we book airline tickets or even a hotel through some of the online travel websites. But a lot of us just check the box of, yeah, protect my trip, or no, don't protect my trip. And we don't necessarily know what it is that we're either accepting or declining. So we're going to talk more about that today. But before we get to that discussion, I want to make sure everybody knows about a free giveaway that AFSPA has going on right now. So there'll be information online and even coming out via email about this, but basically to celebrate summer 2023, we're asking our members to send us or tag us in their photos, their best vacation or travel photos. There will be 10 winners of a free AFSPA Surprise Pack based on the first 5 submissions and the 5 randomly selected after that. So here's what you do. You can tag at AFSPACares on either Facebook or Instagram in your favorite vacation or travel photos. Make sure to include the hashtag AFSPA Travel Adventure, all one word. We'll put that in the show notes. If you're not on social media, though, you can email the photos to outreach@afspa.org. Everybody can participate who has internet access. But we are asking you to do all of this by Monday, July 24th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when the hashtag and the tag of AFSPA have to be done, and or your email has to be sent to our outreach address. So take a look at that. We will pick the winners the first week of August, and we'll let you know within a couple weeks if you've won. And I should note that photos do not have to be from 2023, and you can choose photos from any vacation trip or travel experience. So it could be something from years ago that you just love and you think other people should see, maybe a landmark that has changed over time, or even something that's not there anymore. But we welcome photos of landmarks, landscapes, destination, beaches, sunsets, skies, and more. You don't even have to have yourself or other people in the photo. It's great if you do, but it's not required. But please send those to us. Look for the specific details in the show notes today. And on the topic of travel, AFSPA Talks Travel Insurance Day with our guest, one of our most frequent guests and most knowledgeable, Adrienne Seabrooks, who's the Senior Director of our Ancillary insurance programs, which include not just travel insurance, but also long-term care insurance, disability, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment insurance, and dental, among other programs and partnerships that she and her team of insurance specialists manage. So I'm delighted to have her back, and she's going to share some of her knowledge with us and answer some questions I've had about travel insurance for a long time. Adrienne, welcome back to AFSPA Talks.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. I'm always happy to join you on this podcast.
And we're glad to have you and the expertise that you bring each time, whether it's on the podcast or on AFSPA Live. And I think this appearance on AFSPA Talks makes you our most frequent guest expert / co-host. So thank you for coming back again.
Well, certainly. I don't know if that's good or bad, but there's always so much to talk about.
I think it's good because we do have so much to talk about. And we last time you were with us, we were able to sort of do an overview of all of our non-health insurance programs. And today we're going to dig in on one of those. And, we're talking about travel, and it's sort of the busy season for that, right in the heart of summer. And, do you have any plans for travel this summer?
Yes and no. I do plan to go to the beach. My family, we're beach lovers, but I usually go that week after Labor Day, which is considered after summer, but you still get the benefit of summer weather, and things are much cheaper and much less crowded. So yes, I will be taking some time off.
Well,
How about yourself?
My family, I've been on the road for AFSPA in the last month in Chicago, London, Orlando, and I've got some work trips coming up to Omaha and Boston. But my family, we're actually planning to go to the beach, but right in the middle of August. So we probably will have a few more people to contend with than you might in early September. But my kids have never been to the beach, and so they keep asking. So we said we'll do it. We will go there at least for a day and see how they like it.
Well, I think they will, and I think they already enjoy the water. So that's
absolutely
half the battle.
Absolutely. Well, and we've been fortunate, at least when traveling, my family has with in recent years, no travel disasters or big challenges. But I'm curious, have you ever had any travel, I won't say disasters, but we'll just say challenges in the past when you've been traveling? Any luggage lost? Yeah.
I think that if you travel, or anyone who has traveled after 9/11, it's more likely or not you're going to have some kind of bad experience, especially if you're a frequent traveler. I've had a few myself, but the one that stands out the most, Kyle, was actually returning from open season travel from Japan home. My first experience with open season travel, and that trip is about a 14-hour trip to the East Coast. I had a layover in Newark, New Jersey, and if anyone listening knows that airport, I need not say more. But what was supposed to be a 3-hour layover turned into a 14-hour layover.
Oh.
I didn't get a flight out till 8 o'clock the next morning. Pretty much slept in the airport.
Adrienne, you could have walked home. Oh my goodness.
Pretty much. And the icing on the cake is they didn't put my luggage on the connecting flight. So when I arrived, no luggage, but at least I was home. So it wasn't so bad. How about yourself? I know you traveled so much, so I can imagine.
Most of my open season travel and travel for AFSPA has been pretty smooth, but I think back to when I was in college, and our big thing at my college was promising study abroad, and I did that. We had a 3-week January term, and I did my sophomore year. We did a trip to Bulgaria and Greece with one of our professors with a native Bulgarian. Nice. We missed our connection. I promise you, we landed at LaGuardia or JFK. It was not Newark, but we were somewhere in the New York area. And I promise you, I think I saw our flight to Europe take off as we landed. And so we missed that connection. We're overnight in New York, and only a handful of us got on a flight the next day through Belgium. And of course, got to Bulgaria, no luggage. Our local travel agent took us to a basement flea market to stock up on some goods, and we made it work with just the travel agent and a single phrase book. This was back in 2006, so there was no Google Translate or anything like that. So we got through, but it's one of those where it's like, oh, how exciting, and then in hindsight, never again. Never again. Yep. So
and it lets you know how resourceful you are too.
That's right. Yeah, so we've had some, I think both of us have had some good times traveling, personally and
Very
for
much
AFSPA, but
so.
there,
Mhm.
like you said, there, anybody who's traveled in the last 20 plus years in particular has had some uncertainty or some challenges. And one of the things that we're seeing more and more often, particularly if you book your trip through an online travel website or even directly
Mhm.
with an airline, there's that they're offering travel insurance.
They
And
do.
it tended to help if something unexpected does happen. And I'm just curious, Adrienne, you've been working in this space for since AFSPA started offering travel plans. Like, what are we talking about? What does travel insurance cover?
So basically, travel insurance is going to cover medical um, needs, needs for accidental injury. It will cover pre-trip assistance. It will also cover things like baggage loss, as you mentioned, or baggage delay, or trip interruption, or trip cancellation.
Mhm.
Um, I believe that most countries now require that you have a sufficient amount of not only medical coverage, but before you can even enter the country.
Yeah.
So if you are enrolled in a health plan that does not cover you globally, travel insurance is the way to go.
Well, and I appreciate what you touched on. Like, a lot of our listeners have the foreign service benefit plan, so they've got that medical coverage when they're outside the US. And we get those requests. You're right. We get those requests for letters stating, yes, you have coverage when you're going into another country. And they might have to seek reimbursement after receiving care, but they do have coverage.
Yes,
But I
they do.
think, travel insurance we recommend maybe for family members, but it also covers some things that health insurance, the foreign service benefit plan, doesn't cover.
That's correct. So I believe the Foreign Service Benefit Plan will medically evacuate you or medically transport you to the nearest treatment facility. So, not necessarily back to your home country or your place of residence. So, that's where travel insurance comes in because travel insurance will pretty much medically evacuate you. It can be a medical evacuation or even a non-medical evacuation. So in the event that you're in a country where there's political unrest or a terrorist attack, they will evacuate you back to your place of residence.
That and those are some of the things we don't think about, but we've seen, people have to contend with in recent years with needing to get out of a challenging political environment. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right about the FSBP's coverage. It will get you to a facility that will treat your needs, but it won't necessarily get you home or provide travel for a companion to come with you or anything like that.
Exactly. And travel insurance will even cover an escort if you are traveling with underage children.
Mhm.
And if they need to get back home or just have someone to stay with them while until you recover, travel insurance can provide that service for you.
Absolutely providing for sort of the unexpected and even the unthinkable, things I wouldn't have considered.
Certainly.
So, Adrienne, ASPA offers 4 travel plans, and before we get into those, are there any differences between sort of what we offer through our partners? These are underwritten by an outside group, and maybe what I see from the airline when I'm checking out and buying my tickets, and they say protect your trip or don't protect your trip. Are there differences between those plans and ours?
Not really. From what I have um, witnessed, just looking online or just from my own personal experience, travel insurance across the board pretty much covers the same major
Hmm.
services, and those would be, the medical, the repatriation of remains, the medical evacuation. But they do vary, and we offer 4 wonderful plans that give our members some options for their travel needs. So, you might want to look at the age. limit.
Mhm.
Most plans do cover you up to a certain age. So if you're traveling with a senior or someone usually over 75, you want to make sure that this insurance will cover them. Um, you want to look at the trip cancellation. That's so important, especially for our members enrolled in the Foreign Service Benefit Plan, because these are the additional services that will benefit them.
Mhm.
So this, the trip cancellation, trip interruption. And the question that we get quite often, Kyle, is what is the difference? And basically, trip interruption means that you're already on the trip. And this will cover you if you have to cut that trip short or return early. It's usually due to a medically certified illness. It could be adverse weather conditions. Um, it could be political unrest in your country or travel destination.
Sure.
Whereas cancellation means it's covering you before you even depart for your trip. And pretty much for the same reasons. You may have death in your family. You may um, become ill. Or again, adverse weather conditions.
Okay, and those are absolutely the pieces that are not covered by a traditional health insurance, and that you want to turn to travel insurance for. Now,
Exactly.
Adrienne, I'm curious. So when we're talking about travel insurance, does it cover me wherever I'm traveling? When we're talking about our plans at AFSPA, is it going to cover me whether I'm traveling in the US? Do I have to be traveling overseas? Is there a certain distance I need to travel? Or are those some things I should be considering when looking at the plans?
And that's an excellent question, because we do offer 4 different plans that give our members different options. And some of those options relate to just what you said: trip length, departure, place of departure. Some require that you depart from the continental United States
Mm.
and will cover you in the United States as long as you travel 100 miles from home. So the 4 plans that we offer: Travel Assistance International, we offer Travel Emergency Network, Wander Frequent Travel, and Round Trip Travel. And some of the differences, most of them have the medical coverage. Most of them have the medical evacuation and repatriation of remains, but they do have covered different trip lengths. Some are from 1 year, from 1 day up to 1 year.
Mm.
Some are from 1 day up to 6 months. Most are renewable. Um, Travel Assistance International and Travel Emergency Network do require that your trip depart from the United States. However, Wander Frequent Traveler and Round Trip Traveler travel will cover you as long as you're traveling outside of your home country. So
Mm.
these are great plans if you are, currently assigned to a country in Europe or Italy, and you might want to take a vacation to Greenland, or you can get this coverage even though you're a US citizen, but you're not departing from the United States.
Yeah, and it could be good for family members if you have family members who are foreign nationals and are even coming to the United States. This could provide some coverage for them as well.
And even some members that may be on the J-1 visa could
Hmm.
take advantage of these travel insurance programs.
That's a great point. And so we've got a broad spectrum that can sort of cover whatever you need. And I appreciate as preparing for this episode, I looked into them in more detail and appreciate that you can buy a policy that covers you for a whole year and will cover you whenever you're traveling during that year, as long as you meet the other stipulations. And some of the plans I saw also have some accidental death and dismemberment coverage, and some other features like that, and they even have some flexibility that in terms of deductibles and premium based on age.
It does. And all of these plans that we offer give you several options to choose from, several deductible options, several premium options. I will say that the lower the deductible, usually the higher the premium. And all of our plans offer 24/7 travel assistance and travel medical assistance. So you lose your passport. You need an interpreter. You need a referral to a hospital or to a doctor's office. This is a service that's available to you 24 hours, 7 days a week.
That's excellent. Adrienne, we've talked about this before, and we touched on it earlier this year in sort of the overview episode, but I'm just curious, we're talking about travel insurance, but we also have talked in the past about sort of the members of household insurance, which is for medical coverage outside of one's home country, I think. And, can you tell us a little bit of difference, because people may be looking at one versus the other and not sure exactly what's best for their situation or for a family member's situation?
So with the members of household insurance, it usually provides a little bit more substantial medical coverage because it's designed to cover or provide adequate medical insurance for someone who's actually going to be residing with you. So usually it's a longer stay, it's a longer trip length, and it also can sometimes have some travel assistance benefits, but those are fairly limited because of the purpose. The purpose is to really provide you that medical coverage while you're residing outside of your home country. So whether it's a foreign national residing with you in the US or a US citizen residing with you outside the United States.
Okay. Well, this has been great information, but there is a lot to consider, especially as we're considering, our four plans versus maybe something offered by an airline, et cetera. If our members have questions, what do you recommend they do? Where should they start?
So when you are looking to enroll in any policy, you want to look at the fine print. There's certain things you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of before you enroll. One are pre-existing conditions. So you want to make sure that they will cover a condition or a medical condition in the event that you should have some kind of relapse while you're traveling. You also want to look at, Kyle, exclusions. What isn't covered under the plan? Again, as I mentioned a little earlier, you want to look at the coverage for the senior ages. I'm noticing that at age 80, the coverage is very limited. It's a flat fee or flat rate. So you want to make sure that your senior has adequate coverage while traveling.
Right. And I know that some of them also have, we talked about geographic limitations, where you start, where you go. Also, for our members, most of them are probably not taking vacations to some of the countries where there's active warfare or with which the U.S. does not have diplomatic relations, but check the destinations that may be excluded as well. I saw some of that in the overview that you shared.
And the CDC has an excellent website. It's their international travel. So you can check ahead of time to see if there's any advisories, whether it's weather, whether it's political, prior to your trip. And also the State Department has a travel program where they can track you. They know where you are when you travel. And so if you have some kind of emergency, they know how to get to you and help you.
Yeah, and we can put some links in the show notes for those websites, and that'll give you more information about how to sign up for that program through state, which is really great. I've used it myself several times.
So you want to do your homework. You want to look at what's affordable. You want to look at what plans meet your travel needs and your family, for your family. Also, Kyle, what's good about our plans? you can have your family members, you can have friends, you can have your nanny or au pair enroll in these plans. They're not limited to just the active member. So if you're interested in our travel plans, you can go to our AFSPA website at afspa.org and just select the travel option.
Excellent. All right. Well, and if you want to give us a call too, you can ask to speak to one of the insurance specialists with ancillary insurance programs, or specifically mention travel insurance. We'll make sure to get you the right people that they can refer you further if you have questions. And that's Adrienne and her team. It's not our health benefits. They don't work in the travel space, but so you can make that request for travel insurance when you call in, and Adrienne and her team will take care of you. Like I said, we'll have those links in the show notes. And Adrienne, you've shared so much information and so much guidance for what we should look for when we're considering and doing our research. Do you have any other final thoughts? Anything that we've missed today?
Well, I just hope that everyone has safe travel. And in the upcoming summer newsletter, we have a great article on traveling with chronic illness with some great tips. So be on the lookout for that.
Oh, I look forward to that. Absolutely. Well, Adrienne, thank you very much for joining us today, for sharing this information, and to you for later in September, and for all of our listeners, bon voyage.
Thank you, Kyle.
For more information about AFSPA's ancillary insurance program offerings, please visit afspa.org/AIP. For specific information about travel insurance, visit afspa.org/travel. This has been AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. All information offered in this podcast is meant to be educational. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent AFSPA. Should there be any discrepancy between information offered in this podcast and official plan documents for the Foreign Service Benefit Plan or other products offered by AFSPA directly or in partnership with other groups, the policy provisions will prevail. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to AFSPA Talks to catch our next episode. Please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and share feedback with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Search for @AFSPA Cares. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks for joining us this week on AFSPA Talks. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode. If you have any follow-up questions about the topics in this episode, join our AFSPA Live Q&A session on the last Thursday of every month. We will be streaming live on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AFSPA Cares at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to answer your questions. Thanks for listening.